This session, yesterday we were focusing on the recent discoveries the country reports, and we had some excellent presentation from the SAARC member countries, including Sri Lanka. And today we are focusing on the Buddhist archaeology and the society, because that is the ultimate test of any branch of knowledge, that how does it relate to the society at large, whether of the contemporary society or the modern day society. So beginning this session, in the chair is Dr. Muhammad Ataur Rahman from Bangladesh. He is Deputy Director in the Department of Archaeology. I hand over the mic to him to conduct the session, please. Thank you.
Representative Dr. A.M.P. Shanka study about the people who contribute in laying slab in stone provinces of the Anuradhapur stupa.
Ladies and gentlemen, I made this study about the people who contributed in laying stone slabs in the stone paved terrace of the Anuradhapura Jetavana Stupa. Anuradhapura Jetavana Stupa. It is the well famous Buddhist archaeological site situated in the World Heritage City of Anuradhapura. The earliest name of this area was Nandana Garden or Nandana Grove, Nandana Udyan. In 3rd century BC, Arahat Mahinda, who came from India, preached the Buddha's teaching daily at Nandana Park, bringing about the realization of Dhamma to thousands of people at Nandana Park. It received a new name as Jyoti Grove or Jyoti Van. Jetavana Vihara, the Jetavana Vihara, also called Dena Naka or Dena Vihara in Sinhala inscriptions and literature. It was founded by the King Mahasena at end of the 3rd century AD. In the Jyotivana Park, on territory within the precincts of the Mahavihara, the king built it for Mahatispatera of Dakshina Vihara. It was the one of major monastic establishment in opposition to the Orthodox Mahavihara. The colossal stupa. The colossal stupa was the most prominent monument in Jetavana Vihara. It is the largest and the highest brick monument in the ancient world. Paramitan and most of other scholars accepted that the Jetavana Stupa also have been built by the King Mahasena, end of the 3rd century AD. But we have no clear evidences to prove it clearly. Archaeological investigations were started under the Central Cultural Fund Act number 57 of 1980. The work commenced on May 31st, 1981 under the archaeological director, Professor Hemaratnaya. My paper is based on the stone paved terrace of the Jetavana Stupa. The conservation of a stone paved terrace we first clearing the accumulated earth by excavations and prepare the stamp pages of the inscriptions, number the stone slabs and prepared scale drawings removed the stone slabs systematically and relaid them to the ancient level with a slope to drain off the water. Fill the missing areas either with new stone slabs or bricks, pointing the gaps in between. Several archaeological excavations were done at the Jetavana Stupa stone pavement by our project. Southern part of the stone pavement, the first excavation, then next northwestern part of the stone pavement, third one southwestern part of the stone pavement. These excavations have been revealed many rich archaeological data. Then stone paved terrace. What is the stone paved terrace? In Pali, Sila Attara, mentioned as Sila Attara, Sanskrit Sila Prastara. It means the ground prepared by laying stone slabs, or the courtyard covered by stone slabs. This stone paved terrace is useful for the various religious activities in the history. In the earliest period, stupa had not a stone paved terrace. It had only a sand terrace. Under the later developments, the stone paved terrace is added with the stupa architecture. Srimad Paramithana clearly mentioned that it came to use after the 8th century. After the 8th century AD, that the historical point proved by the epigraphy, by archaeological investigations. All the inscriptions were belonging to the 9th century AD to 10th century AD, but there are some non-Brahmi symbols also. About 240 symbols and 305 inscriptions have been found. Little amount of them have been published by various scholars. H.C.P. Bell, Srimad Paramithana, Saddha Mangala Karunaratna, Malini Dias, Mendis Rohanadira, A. Ratnayaka and Reverend Abrakada Vajira have published some of them in various publications. Then the next point, who lay in stone slabs? Ordinary people, first one. The second, the religious personnel, and the nobles, royal family members, and the ladies. Last one, ladies. Out of the 1,000 of stone slabs in the stone paved terrace, less than 10% has inscription. Then who laying stone slabs in this pavement? People introduce only their own names without any introductions. They have not included any personal titles before or after their names. Right? Kotti, Kotin is the personal name. Kotin Salapatara Kamadun. Nilaya Tavevu Pahana. Bud is the personal name. Dun Ranak. Dala Tavevu Atta Pahana. Salata Tavevu Sodos Pahana. Naga Buddha Deva Man Senu Sale Suan Midal Nagai Akbo Mahadev Lokei, Ayati, and so on. Only mention their personal names. But some people have used special titles to show their status. Vedna means Chief Medical Officer. Vedna. Now, Arakmena, Chief of the Kitchen, Chef. Then Senirajna, Chief Army Commander. Lamani Kasba, Lamani means Lampakan. Kasba is the personal name. That Lamani is a royal family, one of a royal family in Sri Lanka. Lamani. Then Kasup Himya. Kasup is the personal name and Himya means Lord. Minigal Vahanse. Vahanse. Want to repeat title. Vahanse. Samanal Bata Himyan. Samanal Bata Himyan. Himyan means Lord. Nagayan Vahanse. Nagayan is the personal name. Vahanse means Lord. Demil Namudaya. Demil means Tamil. And Namudaya means some officer or person. We found two Tamil inscriptions from the Salapatram. Chudinakarinda Siruvattana Ratna Vallabha Rai, the person. His name, Chudinakarinda Siruvattana Ratna Vallabha Rai. Then the religious persons, Mahindwattimi, Senwattimi, Dalnawattimi, Upatiswattimi, Saman Senwattimi, and the Bhakta Upasaka. Upasaka means lay devotee. Vattimi have two meanings. Pali, Vattimi, Pel Hadana Vattimi, Pel Hadana Vattimi, preceptor who came committed to memory of the Pali canonical text, the one, and the next interpreted as master of the religious ceremony and the lord of property. Vattimi means lord of property. Then the ladies, we can see that there were women's representations among the people who laid stone slabs. When we consider it by number, we can see that it is much less than the number of men. 40 Hambuga, Abi, Abu, Ambi, Ambika. It means wife or lady. Bo Hambu, Nilavesa Hambu, Vedahun Wat Hambu, Tula Wat Hambu, Tisa Mahavi, Abi means lady, the princess. Mahavi, the chief princess. It is clear that those women represent the elite class of that society. How many stone slabs paved? One person, some paved one stone slab. Ek pahana, one stone slab. Depahana, two stone slabs. Atapahana, 8. Tuduspahana, 13. Solaspahana, 16. 16 Satalos, 70 stone slabs. And some scriptures mention how much money they had to spend also. It reveals their financial ability. Ran Kalanda. Kalanda means standard gold coin. Ran Tun Kalanda. Ran Pas Kalanda. Dasa Kalanda. Sab Kalanda. Ran Tis Kalanda. Tun Kalan de Akek. Akek means one out of 8 of the gold coin. And the Una Masak. So,
okay, within 3 minutes, please. Already 15 minutes.
Then, thank you very much. If you have any clarifications, you can ask questions. Thank you.
Now, audience, if you have any question.
Have there been similar studies for the, say, Ruan Malishaya and Abhayagiri? Have there been similar studies of inscriptions?
Some sort of studies are going on now.
No. I don't think you understood what I said. You have...
No, not we, but there is a separate project for the Ruan Malishaya.
I know that.
Yes.
I mean, for Abhayagiri was excavated and the slabs are there.
Yeah.
Ruan Malishaya is being done, but the slabs have been there. Has anybody analyzed the writings, the inscriptions on these sites, apart from yours? They haven't. So how does your one compare with theirs?
We didn't compare them because not completed our research up to now. It is a going on project.
Anyone? Yes? Dr. Faisal. Thank you. Our next discussion about pedigree and deviations, tracing the antiquity of relic worship with special reference to early Buddhist religious architect in South Asia, presented by two persons, Professor D.P. Dawari and Miss Singh. Please come on and present your paper.
This paper is presented on the relic worship in early Buddhist. First question is, what is relic? Relic are the powerful symbol for the representing and resembling the wondrous attribute of the Buddha. They are considered as the great source of faith and devotion, particularly with regard to the relic of the historical Buddha Sakyamuni. The practice of the venerating the physical remains of the Buddha and other Buddhist holy men and women has drawn a wide range of interpretative response, both from the Buddhology and from the modern historians and scholars of the region. But phenomenon of relic veneration in the Buddhist tradition has not generated a comparable body of scholarly analysis. Almost all the objects worshipped by the Buddhists are literally a reminder of the Buddha, but the relics of the Buddha deserve special mention. Relics can be divided into three groups that are defined by their relationship to the Sakyamuni Buddha. About 42 sites have been excavated in India pertaining to this. And now the question is, how did people came to the belief that Buddha's bodily relic enshrined with the stupas or elsewhere deserves the highest form of veneration, even if it is only the tiny dust particle or charred bones? Why does Buddhist accounts on the relic involved in the participation of non-human actors and are accompanied by the supramundane appearance, and why they often are charged with the mythic quality that serve to relate them above the realm of the conventional human interactions? In present topic, we are analyzing these problems. Agenda for the source of history are two types. One is literary and second is archaeological. Literary source is Mahaparinibbana Sutra, where Buddha describes details about his cremation of the dead, and some archaeological sources are also there. There are three types of relics: one Sariric, second Paribhogic, and third Uddeshik. The first category of relic is Sadhatu, Sariric or physical remains of Buddha or Buddhist saints, and most important class of object for the veneration is the physical relic of the Buddha, like bones, nails, hairs, footprints, etc. Such type of example is found on one relic which is kept in the Indian Museum at Kolkata. Second category is Paribhogic and third category is Uddeshik. These relics are associated and discovered in Buddhist sites in India, about 41 sites. The number of the sites containing the sacred corporal relics of the Buddha discovered from the Buddhist stupas in India is 5. Sites from where the Buddha's relics are reported to Prabhupada, Attipur, Taksila, Nagarjunikonda and Devji Mori. And these are the list of excavators who have excavated these sites. This is the map showing the archaeological sites which have been excavated in India. The veneration of the Buddha's corporal remains found in most authentic sculpture warrant to the Mahaparinibbana Sutra, a text that provides a connected narrative of the Buddha's last day. The Mahaparinibbana Sutra establishes this historical link with a vivid account of the cremation and a description of the division of the relic into the 8 equal portions, which each of which goes to one of the 8 clans. When representatives of another clan arrive after the distribution has been completed, they are given the cinders from the funeral pyre. Finally thrown, a Brahmin takes the vessel used to measure the relic and distribute it. This is a picture on a relic found in Pakistan and kept in Los Angeles. Now we are discussing what is the content found in these relics. The Buddha relics were divided into the 8 parts after the death, and they considered to be stupas. But how about the relic, however, that were placed within the stupas? As far as our analysis is concerned, in contrast to the Indian subcontinent, no big bones have been found inside the relic casket. What is mentioned as found in the reliquaries are sometimes tiny pieces of bone and ash. Usually the relic bone ashes are kept exclusively in the tiny gold casket, which in turn was placed in other primary receptacles made in silver, copper, crystal, clay or stone. But where did the idea of using a relic in casket come from? This is broadly an idea of Brahminical. What was material nature of the way of inclusion? Generally, all outer caskets were molded or molded in the shape of a stupa. They are ornamental silver and gold caskets inside bearing symbols of pink lotus, medallions and swastikas. Copper punchmark coins from Vaisali and a silver coin of Gautami Buddha Satakarani associated with the gold plate depict the figure of seated Buddha from the Sopara in Maharashtra. This is a Sapta Manushi Buddha kept in the Sopara. The steatite casket recovered from one of the stupas at Sonari in Madhya Pradesh. Another noteworty and more recent find is from Amber. There are 3 relic caskets in there. This is soapstone casket in situ at Piprahava. Sometimes the caskets are kept exclusively in the tiny gold caskets, which in turn was placed in other primaries made in the silver, copper, crystal, clay and stones. Relatively a Lalitgit and related Amber. Concerning to the use of definition of relic casket, it can safely be assumed that generally all types of boxes and receptacles contains relics are termed as relic casket. A relic casket is one of which contains the holy relic and relics of the Buddha or monks along with other paraphernalia. The outer box or casket which contains the relic casket within a marked place is known as receptacle. According to the Buddhists, the larger vessel which contains a smaller one are known as manjusa, which is a smaller one which contains the holy relic are known as samudka. The stupa belonging to pre-Christian period shows variety of methods of practicing the consideration the relic caskets. For example, planting the relic casket in the central part of hand, a little away from the hub, or within the circle of the hand, or either in the foundation of levels, or at the levels of upper protection of earth, or drum level, as found at Bhattipuru, Jagapet and Vivekonda. Sometimes relic chambers were made in the inner course of the brick rim of the hand and finally sealed by the brick of the next layer. It is clearly observed at Vivekonda, several relic chambers were built to deposit the caskets with the stone slabs on in the four cordial directions of the hand, a phenomenon noticed at Govinda. Although most relic deposits are found to be situated in the center of the stupa, however, the northwestern region of Indian subcontinent, where Buddhists expanded from the northwestern India to the region with the support of Mauryan Emperor Ashoka, shows slightly varied method of the relic enshrinement. Such examples are from the ancient city of Takshila. This is a relic casket visible in situ. In ancient Sri Lanka, ancient caskets are popularly known as yandragalas. These relic deposits contain variety of the objects, usually of bronze, such as auspicious symbols, figures of deities, animals, and other objects like coin, precious stones, inscribed copper foil, lumps of clay, and decayed metal have been found deposited. These are the materials found in relics shown in this text. Conclusion. On the basis of this study, the conclusion is that we perhaps should consider, for purpose of understanding the physical nature of Buddha's bodily relics in South Asian context, that the relics are composed of a set of powerful visual images, the reliquaries and donated treasure of the inscriptions. Some instances, the receptacle carrying the relic was kept inside another casket made out of the stone or metal. The most interesting feature is that the shape of these reliquaries has shown a change in an evolutionary pattern from the early caskets of 3rd century BC up to the present day reliquary. If one examines the shape and form of the present day reliquary, it is a miniature architectural model of the stupa found today. Therefore, it is possible to assume that the model and form of the reliquaries manufactured at the particular period was influenced by the features of the contemporary stupa architecture. The tradition was to enshrine the body relics in a chamber constructed within the body of the stupa. The form and the construction technique of the relic chamber in Buddhist stupa originally followed the same relic form, that to place 4 slabs on the stones in a swastik order, forming a chamber, and finally it was glued with another stone slab. Later, this chamber was highly decorated with the wall paintings, lamps, etc. This finally took a multiple chamber pattern. The relic were always placed in the tableau and placed inside the relic chamber. This tableau is called in the relic casket or reliquary. With the passage of time, nature and activities of the man has destroyed the earlier stupas, but many of the relic caskets have been preserved underground with the debris. in archaeological excavations carried out by Sri Lanka, many more relic caskets were found at Anuradhapur, Porolula, eastern and southern provinces of the country. The deposit body relics where ash and bone was uniformly small and visible unimpressive indeed. It apparently was so small that it has been overlooked by the scholars, those who have opened it, as many of the reliquaries do not contain any identical ash or bone, but at the same time we must not forget that the relic was an important, or perhaps the most important object in the found in the stupas and the spread of Buddhism. It might be considered sometime of a virtual relic. Perhaps the process can be compared to the making a stew. The stew is composed of a rich array and ingredient water, vegetable, and meat out of the cook can be thrown in the pinch of salt. After the entire mixture and decided for the good, in the same way the relic favored the entire enterprise, although like the salt, it could visually disappear altogether in spite of different ways of the enshrinement. Veneration of relics played an important role in the spread of Buddhism and Buddhist ceremony under the modern times.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Dr. D.P. Tawari. Audience will be questioned at 3% because our time limit.
It would be also useful to back to your narrative to record travel of relics. For instance, Marco Polo was sent here by Genghis Khan to get the tooth relic. It was not obliged to, but say 3 centuries roughly later, Chenho came here, wanted the tooth relic, but again it was not done. But the tooth relic or specimens of it were miraculously created in parts of Myanmar. So you have, I think, 3 or 4 pagodas in Bagan. And you have also in the 14th century Sri Saddha from Thailand, coming here, and then taking allegedly relics from here, and which were enshrined in Mahata, which is the major stupa in Sukhothai. And also during the Portuguese barbarous rule here, they captured a phony tooth relic to be to Goa and were about to crush it and burn it when the Burmese king sent, offered large sums of money. But of course it was not taken, and then it was burnt and thrown into ashes in the river. I forget the name of the river in Goa. So there are some interesting transactions of that nature.
Thanks for your service. Thank you, Professor D.P. Discussion and overview of structural importance of Sri Lankan Buddhist archaeological sites in healthcare. Presented by Dr. M.W.S. Janathan Kumari and Ms. M.W.D. M.P. Kumari Bandara and Dr. Bolet Kumari. 3 persons.
I am myself Dr. Soumya Kumari, Senior Lecturer of the Institute of Indigenous University of Colombo, and presently I am reading for the PhD at National Institute of Rajasthan Ayurveda University, and this is a joint paper with Ms. Kumari Bandara and Associate Professor Dr. Baladev Kumar. And my topic is an overview of the structural importance of the Sri Lankan Buddhist archaeological sites in healthcare. And Lord Buddha has said, Arogya Paramalabha. And the person, the greatest profit one person can get is the health. Because Roga means the disease and Arogya means the health. So, the most important verse by the Lord Buddha is Arogya Paramalabha, Santutti Paramandana, Vishwasa Paramanyati, Nibbana Paramansukha. So if you want to get the salvation, then the person should be free from the diseases of mind as well as the body. So the Buddhist philosophy is based on the humanity, and the Lord Buddha himself treated patients. And you know the stories of the Puthigata Tissa. He is a patient of skin diseases, and Buddha himself admitted to the patient. And there is a single verse, it says, Satthata Vanavava Dukata Vedana. The Lord Buddha is the doctor for the misery. And he teaches how to treat the nirvana by removing all the sorts of the miseries. So he is the great physician himself. And health can be maintained by two aspects. One is to preserve the health of the healthy, and second is to cure the diseases. And Buddhist and Buddhist culture are rich of these health policies, and the Buddhist environment nourished with the traditional healthcare system. So when Ayurveda came to Sri Lanka, the 18 faiths came there, and one of them is medicine. And we also have it, that time we had very much rich medical system in Sri Lanka. That is called indigenous medicine, our own medicine, and it is also called as Sinhala Vedagama, medicine. But when Ayurveda came, it was amalgamated with this, the present medicine, that era. But there was no problem because the principles were same. And in Ayurveda, we say the three humors, Vata, Pitta, Kapha, and in traditional medicine also we say Vata, Pitta, the same. So there was no problem to amalgamate these two. So we had the influences after that with the Ayurveda medicine. And aim of this study was to outline the structural significance of selected Sri Lankan Buddhist archaeological sites in health promotion. And here I have used the available literature and on-site information for this purpose. And when we see the history, Sri Lanka occupies a unique position in the Indian Ocean and account for historical importance of over 2,500 years. And due to proximity, the Sri Lanka has greatly influenced by the Indian cultures. And Buddhism was introduced to Sri Lanka by Mahinda Thero under the patronage of the King Asoka of India, and the Buddhist faith inspired the life of people. The health system of Sri Lanka was integrated with the Ayurveda medicine at the time of arrival of the Buddhism to the country, and well-planned hospitals were built at Mihintale, Madarigiriya and Polonnaruwa, etc. And these ruins are still remain. And they are the great evidence that we had the rich heritage of the traditional medical system. And let us see an overview. This is the ruins of the ancient hospital Mihintale, and this is said to be the world's most ancient hospital. Now the archaeological, as an archaeological site, you can see the ruins. And here they say that there were facilities to treat indoor and outdoor patients. That means residential patients as well as like OPD treatment and IPD treatment. And these rooms, these square rooms were said to be treated for the residential patients. And this hospital is the largest hospital found in Sri Lanka. And here, this hospital was consist with some pharmacy, some places special rooms to treat the patients, and some special the treatment therapies, and this stone. This is used to prepare the medicine. And here, this is they say hot water bath. The patients can get hot water bath, especially for the treatment like skin diseases, maybe the disease monks or either maybe the in general public. And here the special, I think this is belongs to Sri Lanka because these are called Behetoru Galloru, and here the medicated olives or medicated baths were poured, and the patients were dipped in this stone the instrument for some time, and especially for the salvation or the snake bite. They keep the patient for 6-7 days if the patient gets unconscious. And for especially for the skin diseases also this treatment. But when you see, this is simple, but the treatment procedure is very larger. So behind that there is a big procedure that how to keep the patient. And here, so the face should not dip, the nose mouth should be not, the patient should not get the aspiration. So the instrument was prepared in such a way, built in such a way that the person can have, the head can be raised on there is a special portion that is little made up than the body part. So the person inside will not get the suffocation. And this is the closer view of the dead bath. And here the medical instruments found from the Mihintale ancient hospital, and this is kept in the museum now. So this shows the instruments used, and there are surgical instruments recovered from the site. That means that that time they had the rich the medical system, that means the surgery was done. And these instruments were found in kept in Nuru Halaviya, in Janak Kautukagara, that means the museum, that the general people, means the doctors have used such instruments to treat the patient. And earlier our speaker said there were positions like Sulvedana, Mahavedana, that means the chief medical officer and the junior medical officers were there, and they were treated patients accordingly. And there were Pudavidu. Pudavidu means the special doctors treat with the, we say in Sinhala Pudallo, or the leeches. And the leeches, that treatment is, we call Rakta Mokshan in Ayurveda. So these are, we call as the special therapies. There are two types of therapy. One is palliative therapy, that you give just medicine and treat the patient. So there are some diseases that you can't treat with just for the medicine. The disease is deep rooted, then you give the medicine and you remove some weakened doshas from the body. Those are called Shodhana therapy. You may know that it is commonly known Panchakarma. Vamana, Virechana, Nasya, Niruva, Anuvasana. So one is Rakta Moshana, the letting the blood out by using the leeches. So this is very complex, and even the person should be very much skilled to do this. So, and even for when you say that when you use the water, that if you use the hot water, it is having different qualities. If we are having using the cool water, it is having the different qualities. So every aspect should be counted before treating the patient. And this is another hospital, Madurai Ocean Hospital. And this is also, the patients were treated here also in OPD and IPD levels, because the room suggests that some rooms for the residentials and some rooms for the OPD. And here also we can find the same the model as similar to the Mihintalai hospital. And the stone inscriptions give the very strong evidence that it is written if what to do with the died animals, they should be given to the hospital, and what the payment should be given to the doctor, or what are the management principles. These are written there. So that means it proves that these are the hospitals, and these are adjacent with the temples. And this is the next, this is the most, I think, the developed type of the hospital at Polonnaruwa. And this is also for the treatment for indoor and outdoor patients. And here, the one of our students is laying there. So you can see, these are not abnormal. This means that time the figure of the persons are a little more, means that more good built than this era. So you can use, and this one, this Penetoba is the most advanced one, because you need less amount of the fluid, because it is just made according to the structure of the body. So I will show the rest later. So, and this Arahana Pirivana is having the very good storage system. It is just the toilet system whatever we are having today. Because after the toilet, the water or the urine is, or the whatever the stool is collected in the first the manhole, then after that it will send to the sewage pit. So the residual will remain in the manhole, and only water will go to the environment, and by this way it is one that then again the residual can be used for means as the manure for the plants. And this is also preventing the environment. So this is very rich. So here the closed loop, the storage system. So you can see the toilet. It is just like a spotting pan, but what we are having. And there is the manhole, and here septic tank. And even that some say this is the manhole, or either this is to put the garbage. So there the health was, means the health system was maintained at that time. And here we can see extensive the different models of the toilet system, and the toilet was closed. So that seems that the people are disciplined, and monks, they need some cover. So the cover is there, and they are also decorated with the figures of ladies. Some may be to show that they are not passionate with the females. So I don't know the real, but I think there may be some reason behind. So why they have put the ladies with the outfigure in this pose. And there are urinal pots. So here the natural cleaning system is there. They have put stone, sand and lime. So whatever the urine passes through the urinals going through these pots, and it will go to the environment. So again the precaution of the environment takes place. And all the toilet systems, you can see that there are different toilet systems, but that means that they had very good sanitary facilities at that time. So they were maintaining the sanitary conditions. And also the brick codes, this is yesterday we saw that shows that we are having the great influence from the India. So the green, the wells, some wells are with the the clay. So this the water in this wells are very cool. So it is having the cool water is appetizing, and it is also due to the clay, the water gets purified. And the brick was in, this is from Polonnaru Alahana Parivana. So this brick was, wells are well covered, half covered, and there are steps for the inside that you can go inside and clean the well. So that means that there was a very good health system in Sri Lanka that time. And in this, and this also the pot. So this was also used to wash hands, as it is still here at 12 Mile Sand. So the hygienic condition, even before offering the flowers, the people that time, this is the dry area and so what was collected in these instruments. And there was very good irrigation system, and the water, some said the water was filtered before entering into the tank for the taking bath for the monks and general people. And here the special
we give some extra time. You are not bored, everybody.
Interesting.
I was interested. You also interested about this.
Yeah.
So here, the next one, please. And there were special some the structures that called, for the Jaintaku Sweda. So they know the Jaintaku Sweda means some special kind of the treatment. There the structure of the building is fully closed. Now only the remains are there, that rooms are closed, and they were given some kind of, so this is, yeah, that's. So here the monks were treated for the obesity. So this is also one kind of special treatment. That is, before Panchakarma we do Sneha and Svedana. Sneha means oilation and the Svedana means the foodation. So this is said, in general they say the foodation therapy. But if you say the foodation therapy, before that they should give the oilation. So after applying the oil, only people were subject to this treatment. In here the Janatagar of Abhagiriya Panchavasa complex, and one is from the Arankele Janatagar. So that means for the prevention of health and also for the obesity, because the some monks they were immobilized, so due to that their fat is grown, cholesterol is more. So because of that the monks were asked to go around this, and the inside that there is, even in India there is coil they put, and here they put the wood, they burn the wood, and because of that heat the person gets perspired. But it is actually for some 20 minutes, 15 minutes or not more than 1 hour, because the person gets perspired, but the slab should be sealed, airtight. So that time it may be, this is the only the structure, foundation, the structure may be covered by, it is usually the bell shape, the structure, it is, you can see in India, in the hospital. It is still there. So this is the different kinds of that, the Bihetoru. So you can see, when you see from the, that is from the Tuparama, and some from, this is from the Mihintale, and when you come to the Alahana Parivana, so for the Polonnaru period, so you can see the difference. This is like body shape, and it preserves the medicine as well as it gives the better treatment. And here also brick paved wall is there for the terrace. So that means the medical system was very much developed at that time. And for the early what I said, for all these by Jaintaku Sweda and the Panchakarma for the surgery, so they are for the physical treatment, and this structure was built for the mental health also. So if you say the very big, means one is the samadhi minimum, when you see it, you will get the tranquilizing effect, and for the contemplation and for the meditation, this is very essential. And the very big stupas, when you look at Ruamensai, and as they say, the most highest stupa, this stupa Jedavanarama, when you see the size and when you see the person, when you stand in front of that, you get actually the tranquilization, and you get the sort of the mental purification that leads to for the meditation and to clear the whatever the klesha, raga, dvesha, like that, whatever the desires too much you are having, you can subside that. And here also the moonstone, so it shows the pattern of the life and what is the date. It shows, it is a symbol that people look at it and people interpret it. So here by looking his side, and looking then you can see the nice pathways with the greenery. So people having all the health concepts, good means if you go, I think you are having a trip, so it is wonderful. Who have not been to Rangalamura, so you will get very much tranquilized, you will be very much happy to be in such a site. So at last I want to say this, so by looking this, so we can see we had very good medical system, our own medical system, even with the integration of the Ayurveda, it was enhanced up to the era who demolished it, but still we are having the ruins, and this is very good evidence that we are having rich medical system, as well as this leads us to for the health society and healthy society, and still we are having very good idea in the health data when compared with the countries of other region, and our indexes are very good. Our birth index, our death index, our mortality index, like infant mortality index, people see how even after getting tsunami like that, we didn't face that much whatever expected. So that means our people are having very good discipline, very good health profile. We carry it from the ancient time. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Dr. Kumari gave us about healthcare article, and I think it is exceptional article, our whole seminar. Please come on and sit down. And our audience must enough question. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Please first introduce yourself, then you start.
I am Srinima Lakshmi, former director of the museum.
Yes.
National Museum Department. Thank you very much for the very fine presentation. Of course, we had read all this somewhere in 1960s, when Paravitana wrote about this in 1950s, or about the health and hygiene of Sri Lanka. No, I am not going to say much about this, but when you say that the toilets or the lavatories were carved, and am I right that you said that the figure of ladies or females were carved? No, never. Never in Sri Lanka figure of ladies were carved on lavatories because I'll tell you, on lavatory platforms and screens, there were carvings. Actually, the whole lavatory slab was designed to show a palace, right? Vimana. And sometime in the center of the Vimana, there was a figure, not of a lady, but of quail, to indicate, to symbolize, to say that the priest, by using palace for this purpose, and in the palace they gave a symbol of a figure of whale who was the god of wealth. So it was to say that those priests, Buddhist monks, discarded, rejected these luxuries, the princely life, So like that, there are some corrections to be made. But I thank you for this excellent presentation. And you know that pots in the toilets. There were sometimes, as Dr. Sushanta will explain, and he has already explained in his aborted book, Aborted Discoveries. We had the system of purifying or filter. What we throw before getting it into the soil of Sri Lanka, it was filtered some 6-7 times, keeping put one under the other. So thank you very much. That is just an explanation.
Okay, thank you. Next, please.
Yeah, me.
Oh.
I'm Nilimataya, professor and head of history from India. First, definitely I would also like to thank you for giving such a wonderful and thought-provoking presentation. I have very brief 3-4 questions. First, could you please tell me the date of construction of these hospitals? Number 1. Number 2, could you also please tell me the literary source where the ways of the treatment in details have been given? Third, as he said, even I couldn't digest the idea that women figurines were carved on the walls of the toilet. So may I know, if at all these are carved, so may I know what was the purpose of that? What was the philosophy behind that? Why women, were carved on that? And the last, the body shape structure for the treatment, as you have shown. So I would like to know that about the size of those. So was there a variety of sizes, or they were just of a same size? So these are 3-4 questions. Please.
Okay, thank you. Next, please. Okay.
Sir, I would like to accept your explanation because I am not an archaeologist. I am looking only the medical side.
Yeah.
But what you said is really correct because I accept you, and there was some sort of figure is there. As he said, he clearly, so it is not female, but even for the, if it is female, that does not mean to neglect or to show the lowestness of the female, that maybe either to depress the or the suppress the urge, whatever person, if anyone, if he not reach to the nirvana, someone can get the any sort of the mental attachments, but to avoid that, maybe, but in Sri Lanka there is no such evidence that the ladies were treated like that. So that is better.
There are no ladies, figure of ladies also. There are no figure of ladies. I'm quite sure.
Yeah, so it is better. I will clear it and I will accept it, and I think so that is a mistake maybe. So that was taught and I have read. So that may be the source, but we will remove it. That should be. And the second thing, madam, you are having very much questions, and I have the measurements, but you can get it from the, I think, from the archaeological department, the measurements of all the things, and I will personally answer your questions.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I am having, I will give it. Because the limitation of the time, I will give it, excuse me.
Next.
incursion, northern archaeology was distorted through LTT ideology, and a lot of fictions were created which you don't require social epistemology, but very obvious distortions were made. For example, 100 years ago, there was a site established, excavated by the Royal Asiatic Society, and all its artifacts were relabeled by the LTT as being an invented Tamil Buddhism unconnected with the rest of Sri Lanka. And similarly, with the resumption of the war, after the war of archaeology in the north and east, Jaffna academics, if you go to the LTT website, TamilNet, you will have a whole series of articles objecting to archaeology. One of these characters is by the name of Sikrambalam, and the other character is by the name of Pushparatnam, who pushed these lines. But fortunately, the archaeology department over the last 2 years has been going around, as you have seen in the plenary sessions yesterday, and they have excavated a lot in the north, in the north and east, and telling the lie to the LTT. Now, my main thrust of the paper is on social relations in research. Again, with an academically trivial example, there's a German collaboration in Sri Lanka which excavated a port in the south. Again, that material was not available here, and the local epigraphist, I think Dr. Malini Dias, tried to access that material. It was not given to her. By some mysterious means, the LTT archaeologists had got hold of it and distorted. Now I'm looking at the major thrust of my paper, which is set in an article by Cunningham, not be mistaken by Cunningham of York, who had written an article in 2007, and I have replied 4 years later in Cunningham. He designated Anuradhapura as a theocracy. Now he admits that Anuradhapura was subject to a lot of trade, and you had many connections with the rest of the world. And he finds an extremely rich architectural sequence which indicates these networks. And a corpus of inscriptions from 3rd century BC giving large number of officials in them. And these officials are the normal officials you find in any secular system, army commander, treasurer, minister, etc. And Cunningham also finds other tax collectors. Some taxes were collected by the revenue, and of course there were grants given to the religious, which went to the religious establishment. Now, Cunningham, without recourse to Sri Lankan sources on the construction of Anuradhapura, goes to Arthasastra, which most of you know, and tries to put a template on Sri Lanka based on Arthasastra, and some of you will be aware of these examples, which have been found to be true to one urban site in North India. Now, after going, he also uses the work of Lansing from Bali. Some of you may be aware. He and I have talked at the same events in the US a couple of times. And he says that compares with Lansing's work the Sri Lankan irrigation systems. And he compares Anuradhapura with the Mayan stupas with the Mayan systems, which you would know were used for human sacrifice. He uses examples of current religious festivals as indicating that these festivals were to redistribute the produce throughout the population. He takes a man called Coe, his work on tropical forest civilizations, who applied it to Angkor Wat. I lived for 10 years in Cambodia and I'm fairly familiar with the Angkor Wat situation. And he applies Coe's ideas to Anuradhapura, in spite of a huge amount of literature on Anuradhapura. Now, after all these theoretical ramblings, for which he had a couple of Sri Lankan co-authors, unfortunately they are not here, and he finds, just 1 second, he finds that the Arthasatra descriptions do not fit in to Anuradhapura, which is not surprising because the founding of Anuradhapura itself is described in the Mahamansa, giving great detail of how the squares were laid out by Pantukabe, and goes on and on varieties of urban dwellings and varieties of town planning was done. Okay, I am going to skip that region. And so now after his research, he finds that Arthasatra doesn't fit in Sri Lanka. Unfortunately, he had read the Sri Lankan text, he did not have gone on this blind trip. He evokes Lansing, but Lansing's systems of decentralized education systems are not applicable to Sri Lanka. Some of you who know the Sri Lankan literature would remember that Marx's idea of Asiatic mode of production and its articulation in Bitfogle were applied in the 1950s to Sri Lanka and explored by Leach and others and found to be totally untrue. But more recent studies on Sri Lanka indicate that Sri Lanka is neither decentralized in the Lansing sense or centralized in the Oriental despotism, but was a cascade system. Those of you who are interested in the socio-technical systems, I can elaborate on it further. Now, he compares as social control the Mayan pyramids, and he evokes a festival called the Jasmine Flower Festival, which some of the Sri Lankans here would know, where there's a large number of people get involved. Now, he completely ignores that the Jasmine Flower Festival is by collecting flowers from throughout the country, and that there is mass collection as well as mass distribution. Those of you who would know of modern factory systems would understand that it is a different type of system than what he talks about. And a clear example of this would be the feeding of 1 million pilgrims by food, which come on a particular full moon day to Anuradhapura. Or if you go to the Buddha's birthday, all around nearby here, there are people who are distributing food. So it's and these are by lay people, and it doesn't fit his model at all. And there is no centralized control. And Mahamansa itself gives details of how the Mahachaiti was constructed. Okay, I won't go into this. And it was constructed by people being paid, the amount they were paid are given, what they were served are given, and details are given. So now he compares the Mayan to the singular stupas. Now there are obvious contradictions. Singular stupas are for Buddhist practice. The Mayan stupas were another form of practice. Some of you have seen the depictions of human sacrifice where the heart is torn out and described. The religious monuments in Anuradhapura were not centralized like the Mayan pyramids, which he claims. There are stupas all over the country, and Cunningham, if you get looked around, you have seen similar stupas all over the place. And then Anuradhapura was not just religious, but it was first a secular city and then later became religious. And if you were to look at many examples in the literature and so on, so many secular activities were carried out, and the major religious, so-called religious complexes were also centers of architecture, learning, mathematics, and so on. And he does not compare the areas where these stupas were spread by the Sinhalese from about the 11th century onwards in Southeast Asia, and you will get a very different game plan than what he says. He does not again compare large structures that are there today. Sir, how many minutes more?
No more.
Huh?
No more.
Okay, fine. Yeah, if you want the details, it's fine. I have this raises huge, and also his irrigation system doesn't fit. Again, many examples. The gentleman comes from a university which is originally a geography, Durham University. Just like Cambridge was, most of the original universities in Europe were religious universities. So, unfortunately, sorry, just 1 second. The basic message I want to transmit is that superficial analysis by foreigners brought in is not good. I would urge you to go to my reply to him in entity itself. And it is a strong contrast to Cunningham. Cunningham collaborated with local people, including Sri Lankan monks, and when examples of this. And now, unfortunately, the division of labor was that the theory was given by Cunningham and perhaps 1 or 2 trips. And but my assertion is that the locals should give the theory, and that the persons who are involved in such exercises should, in the Sri Lankan case, beware of Sinhala, Buddhist studies, and Pali, and there should be a committee. In the case of medical studies research in Sri Lanka, there are very strong protocols. You know, in medicine, you can't fool the locals. If a person were to come and extract blood samples, you would have to get permission from the Medical Research Council. So my contention is that a lot of this misleading stuff that Cunningham has done could have been avoided if it was overseen by a committee of local scholars, Pali scholars, Buddhist scholars, before giving the permission. And such protocols are given in several other disciplines in Sri Lanka. So my urge is that such protocols be established in case of archaeological research. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Susanto. Any question?
Yeah, sir.
Why does not rename the LTT assign archaeological names by this Department of Archaeology or Northern Zone?
No,
is controlled by the Sri Lankan government?
Yeah, they have been renamed. You know, we had a Portuguese project, I think I referred to, and we went there with the Hindu people to identify early articles from 5 years ago. So then we discovered and we photographed it. And then we wrote to the archaeology. So subsequently they wrote. But then later we found that it was done in collaboration, and I have got it on video record of the keepers there. So it has been changed now. But what you should do is go into, please get your optional archaeologists, I'm only a sociologist, get the published literature from Jaffna University. I have been asking for it so many times. I have written to the minister to get it. I have written to the Archaeology Commission. It may be in Tamil, but please get it. Then only if we have open discussion, maybe I'm wrong, who knows? That open discussion, that truth comes out.
Then again about the religious city of Anuradhapura, because I have examined nearly 12 sites scouted by Dr. Dhanayagada. Especially I refer to all layers concerning animal bones. Then I understood hunting was prevailed, and only one thing changed after the BC, that is decreasing of killing domestic animals. That's only, but all the killing and eating of meat that was practiced at Anuradhapura.
Yeah, I mean, but my issue was not content. What issue was how reality was distorted. I'm sorry, in 50 minutes I have to...
Okay, thank you. Next, you introduce please yourself and question.
I am Dr. Shyam Shahadar. In fact, I had also presented a paper in World Archaeological Congress, which was held in Washington DC. This abstract is also there, Anuradhapura, Archaeological Pavilion. And Robin Cunningham has done that, which you are referring to. But my question is that Robin Cunningham's discoveries on archaeology. I'm not an archaeologist, but this point.
Alexander Cunningham also not archaeologist. Last time he was archaeologist.
He was an engineer.
First time he was an engineer. Then army officer,
then in fact Robin Cunningham's, which you are referring to, and the Anuradhapura, but the town, as a capital. And also as a development, because many excavations with how the metals and that he found how the gills were also the 18 gills, try to find out that gill system is there. And again, but I think the idea of the art sastra, it is not, I think it was the Indica, we had also given out the Patliputra local system that we had given about how many officers were there, how to, that also we have found in Mahavansas, how Anuradhapura was looked after, how well trained system was there. And so, and then again, which is coming out from this is in the all the system is taking it from the old like Marx or the leftist idea and how the surplus production that give to the farmers in the state, and then it is integrating with essentially it looks like that whole Asian integration image of the towns of towns as in like Goldbach or other towns that we are referring that. So I think it is quite idea which is developing through that. It is through the integration of the whole. Structure, you see the structure of the town structure that came to at that time in the Asian structure. Would like to?
No, that's not true. He and I were keynote speakers at the international conference, and I read up on him. That's why I got him to think, and then found this rubbish you are writing. So since I'm a sociologist of knowledge, I started with this, and then invited him for an open in-house seminar. I said, public will not be discussed. So I got him, I got his co-authors, I got the leading historians in Sri Lanka, and present, asked me to present. And so in front of all this obvious stuff, the guy didn't open his mouth, because he could not open his mouth. You know, he's comparing apples and oranges. And so I must admit, he's a very good physical archaeologist. You know, I come from an engineering background originally. So most of the archaeology techniques are relatively simple for a first year science student or engineering student or medical student to understand. And he's applying all these things very correctly. It is when you go beyond that and try to interpret it and put fancy theories which are totally untrue. Now the irrigation systems in Angkor is a barang. Barang is an artificial rectangle. You know, I've been to Lanka, what, maybe 30, 40 times, you know, and very different from our systems. Similarly, Lansing's systems is also again dicey. It does not explain the Bali systems. His is a theory based on complexity, theories of complexity.
Okay, thank you. I think no more question. Already our tea break time are going to finish. Thank you, everybody. This session, 4 articles are already discussion very nicely, and everybody are patiently listen to the session. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, all scholars, and thank you, authority of SAARC. Thank you.